efforts or plans to address crime in Tacoma?
Yeah, this is the number one issue that I get asked about all the time. It's very, very important to me that everybody in Tacoma feels safe and are safe in every single neighborhood. And so, among also making sure that we're fully staffed at the police department, so sort of traditional law enforcement, we also want to make sure that we are staffing up our community safety officers, which is a brand new position. There'll be 10 of them. They're hiring for those right now. A really important part of the police department who will be unarmed police officers that will be able to support the community, make sure that you're getting the services that you need. And then also, we just stood up our alternative response team, and that is a team of folks who are behavioral health specialists, social workers, nurses that are available to go out into the community in a crisis. So if you call 911, you can request them. If the 911 responder understands that there is some sort of mental health crisis, these folks will go out with our teams. A really important step in addressing community safety in our city. And then the big thing is that we're working on a community safety plan that looks at this across departments. Obviously, law enforcement is just one piece of how we address crime in the city, and it's an important piece and something that needs to happen. But we also want to make sure that we're creating spaces where crime doesn't happen, that we're preventing it, that we're giving people in our city the support they need to live healthy lives that don't need to result in crime. So we're looking at the full spectrum through that plan, and there'll be additional things that will roll out as part of that over the coming year.
A very similar topic that was brought up was about youth violence. What are your current efforts or plans to address youth violence?
Thank you for that question. It's a really, really important part of this. And at the beginning of 2023, we on the council said we've got to do something more. There are a lot of great programs in the city, people doing great work, but we need to invest more. It's so important that we support our youth. So working with the school district, with Metro Parks, with a number of nonprofit organizations across the city and the county, we pulled together summer late nights, which was supervised spaces for youth to go every single weeknight. So from 5 to 10 p.m. every single weeknight of this summer, we had a place for youth to go and be safe. It was the first time, and so there are things we could do better, but there were great things that came out of that. A lot of great stories from the youth that said they finally had a place to go, that they felt safe, they got fed every night. So that was a huge step in the right direction, and we're committed to doing that in the summers going forward. But we don't want to stop there. And we just set up, we voted on it last night at council to set up a council or commission task force maybe to really address this. So it is dedicated to youth and youth violence prevention. And so that'll be our staff teams, that'll be elected officials, that'll be working together with our partners at all the other agencies to make sure we are putting dollars where they are best served by our youth.
Another topic that came up was the topic of homelessness in Tacoma. What are your current efforts or plans to address homelessness in Tacoma?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I would say that is also a question we get asked quite often. We, the City Council, put more than $100 million towards homelessness and affordable housing in this biennial budget. Addressing homelessness and building affordable housing are not the same thing, but they are linked. So we need to make sure that we are doing both. We are setting up additional shelters. We set up a new low barrier site this year. We set up a safe parking site this year, and we continue to invest in what we call our tiny home villages, the emergency shelter sites that work really well because they have wraparound services and they make sure we're helping people get from that first piece of stability to the next step in their lives. And so we're going to continue to invest. This is really, really important to the council, and we're going to continue to listen to the community if there are additional ideas or additional places that they think shelters or sites could be set up, because we know we're not done. There's tons of work to be done in this area, and we want to support both the folks who are living in homelessness, but also the residents of this city who have seen some of the impacts to their communities and their neighborhoods.
Another question that was brought up was the topic of the local economy. On the workers' side, some people talked about they're struggling to find work or they've been laid off. On the business side, they talked about small businesses have been struggling with high inflation, staffing shortages, supply chain issues. What are your current efforts to address the local economy for both aspects?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I think it is important to talk about both aspects at the same time because there is we can't do one without the other. So a couple things that are really great that are happening right now. One is our green economy program, where we're really trying to invest in green businesses across the city. We understand it's the first one in the country, and the mayor is working on some additional funding through a national council on labor and green jobs. So really excited about that work, sort of big picture and supporting our workers in really healthy and green jobs. COVID was tough on small businesses. We know this. And so we did set up a number of funding mechanisms throughout the pandemic that would that supported small businesses just in keeping the doors open, but also as we saw businesses had windows broken, we set up a program to help support that. But we're always looking to support our small businesses. I want to highlight one thing that we got yesterday at City Council, and that was a report on the arts and economic development and how our smallest of businesses, our local artists, really shape and support this community, and how our larger institutions, our theaters, our convention center, the Tacoma Dome, how much they bring in for this community in terms of economic development. So growing the arts is an important and vital part of our economic development plan. And it's really awesome to see how Tacoma supports and thrives because of the arts. So that was really exciting to see yesterday.
And last question, why should voters vote for you?
Yeah, well, I have served on the council since 2020, and I've proven to be a collaborator and a leader. I do think that we can't do work in silos, and that's within departments within the city, but it's also between agencies. So I've done a lot of work to show that we can do better work together. I gave the example of the summer late nights program, but there's many other ways that we're working together to address climate, to address workforce, and we'll continue to do that. And am here to roll up my sleeves and get to work. And I think I've shown that over the last 4 years, and I would love to do it for the next 4.